Welcome back to Space Castle, where it's our continuing mission to explore all things nerdy in the universe. I'm your Captain DT, and I'm off the cuff. I'm off duty here in the Space Castle. I have some thoughts on the recent switch to Preorder, and I thought I'd share them and maybe use this video to start a dialogue with my fellow fans. So, the event happened on Thursday, largely at midnight, and predictably, it was insane. And the events leading up to it were insane as well. Of course, we had the Nintendo Direct where the device was actually shown at length, and we got all the specs, and we got a couple of games announced, and we got a pre-order date announced, and we had the price points released kind of later online sneakily. But obviously, due to crazy stuff happening in the world, which we don't necessarily need to get into here, the pre-order date was pushed back and we had to wait, and that kind of, I think, drew up a lot more chaos and a lot more anxiety about it, and probably a lot more publicity and people being way more eager to try and get their hands on one, knowing that it was going to be more and more scarce and all the craziness surrounding it. So we get to the day, the Thursday, and we get to midnight, and I had already kind of made my own plan to try and get a pre-order, but I thought I may as well just jump online at midnight and try, the various major retailers and see what happened. And it was chaos. It was insanity. It was sad, honestly. Target's website was completely broken, but that's kind of par of the course for them. Their online commerce system is just absolute garbage, and this is not the first time that a lot of people have been really, really unhappy with them. Best Buy, just prior to the pre-orders going live, their ability to log into their website was crashed, and nobody can actually log in and put in their credit card information and prepare for the pre-order release. So that was interesting. I tried both of those. Here's my story with Target. I actually was able to get a Switch 2 Mario Kart bundle into my cart, and I was actually able to get to the checkout. I was actually all set to go. It was a little bit laggy, but after a couple tries, I was actually able to get the sale to go through. I got the email notification saying that my order was placed, and I thought everything was good. And before I could close the browser window, I got a cancellation notice saying that it was a technical error and that the delivery would not be happening and my order was not placed. And I think, well, that sucks. I kind of figured this is how it was going to go with Target, and I was really excited for a second because I thought I was going to save myself the trouble of trying to track one down later. And then I was disappointed because it was canceled and I knew I was going to have to try and track one down later. And then the really messed up thing is that Target sent me another verification email after the cancellation, verifying the order and saying, congratulations, your order will be shipped on such and such date. And I was like, I better check my debit card and make sure I didn't get charged for this. So I checked it, wasn't charged, went on their website and went into my profile and checked my orders, and sure enough, it was still canceled. So Target was completely broken, and that's very, very typical for their website and, just their infrastructure in general. I gave up on Best Buy because I think everybody I know was pretty much just stuck in the spinning circle of death, and their whole, you're in the line, click to get out of the line, but don't do it. That type of thing. And I tried Walmart once too, just to see what would happen. And it was another similar situation where it looked like it was in stock and I was able to put it in my cart. And every time I clicked on the cart, it said it was out of stock. And I would go back and I would refresh the page. I would clear up my cookies and my cache, and I would go back and it would say in stock, and I would put it in the cart, and it would get all the way to checkout. And I would click, submit payment, and then it would again tell me that the item was out of stock. So my plan the entire time was really to attempt the in-person pre-order at Gamestop. And I know what you're thinking, because I thought it myself. I'm not the biggest Gamestop fan. I don't really like how they do business. I don't like how they've operated since Reddit saved them. I don't know. It's a love-hate relationship that I've always had with them. But my plan was to take the morning off Thursday, and that was, of course, the 24th of April. And I was going to get up early and just go pick a GameStop and wait in line. And the closest GameStop to where I live is actually one that's located inside of a mall. So they open when the mall opens, which was 10 a.m. instead of 11 a.m. on all outdoor, exterior facing, strip mall locations and whatnot. So my plan was to go to the mall, hang outside the front door, when the mall opens, beeline it straight to GameStop and then wait in front of that door and hopefully be able to secure a pre-order. And I'd called the day before because I had read the news that GameStop was actually getting allocation numbers for each location, and they knew how many Switch units, both the vanilla, just console only, and the unit and the Mario Kart bundle together, and how many they were going to have available. So I called up, and it was like some crazy number, and I was like, I asked the guy, he's like, wow, do you think if I come and wait in line, I will have a really good shot at getting this thing? And he told me, honestly, he was like, we have no idea what to expect. There could be nobody at the door. There could be 100 people at the door. There could be people clamoring and lining up through the mall to get this thing because of all of the media chaos and all the nonsense that's been surrounding the Switch 2 at this point. But I was like, okay, cool. That's going to be my plan. I'm still going to do the midnight release online and just see if I can get one. And of course, you now know how that went. So I didn't sleep very well the next night, or that following morning, I should say, because I was up past midnight. And I get up early and I shower and I, grab a cup of coffee, and I go and I, grab my earbuds, grab my cell phone. I grab my OG Switch to trade in if I'm able to trade in, because GameStop also had a really good trade-in program where you can get like $130 for your OG Switch towards the Switch 2. And the Switch 2 being as expensive as it is and people being in such an uproar, I was thinking to myself, a lot of the games are going to be backwards compatible, and some of them are going to have the $10 upgrade for graphics and new features anyway. As much as I love and adore my Switch, this is very much going to be like a one-to-one switch out, where all my gaming that I was doing on the Switch was still going to take place on the Switch 2. So I made my peace with the fact that I was going to move on from the Switch and grab a Switch 2. Brought my Switch to the mall, and I sat outside for about an hour. It was a beautiful morning, the sun was shining, and I just had a really good time listening to my AirPods and assuming that the mall was closed and locked up. Like I said, I got to about 8 o'clock, and I saw employees coming in and out of the doors at the mall, so I was like, I'm just gonna go in, and if somebody tells me I need to go back outside, that's fine. I'll go right back out and I'll go sit at the bench and just continue enjoying the morning. But there's nobody around, and it's clear to me that the doors are unlocked, so I'm just gonna go in and see if I can just chill inside versus outside. And I get to GameStop on the upper level of the mall, and I turn the corner, and I'm expecting something insane. I'm expecting like 20 or 30 or 50 people or something. And there was what I assume are two brothers, and I think one of them's girlfriend, possibly sister. And they're just sitting by the door chilling. And I introduce myself, they introduce themselves, and we sit down and we talk for a while. Another guy, I believe his name was Matt, he sat down next to me. He and I became good friends immediately. We just started chatting because we had 2 hours to kill, and we're both high on adrenaline and shit. So we're having a good time just talking about life and talking about beers we like, and like, our careers, and the fact that we live in the same neighborhood, like where's a good place to go, what do you do for fun, and so forth. And I had a great time, and I was just sitting there for 2 hours. And the line starts building up behind us, but by the time the GameStop opens at 10, there's maybe a dozen of us, maybe a baker's dozen. And the doors open and they roll up the shutters, and they give us the flyer with all the extra add-ons you can buy exclusively from them, and you can have like the $400 accessory kit with like your screen protectors, and I don't think any of us in line bought it, but good hustle, GameStop. But yeah, we all get inside and I trade my Switch in, and the process is very quick and easy. And it was absolutely fine. Like I went ahead and I went past the $50 deposit because I was trading in my Switch at the same time. And I just paid the full amount and got my receipt and like fist bumped the people I had met and hung out with in line. We all congratulated each other and we hung out for a little while and we talked about the games we're excited to play and what we think is going to be announced later down the road. And it was a really good experience. And what I want to talk about here today, and this is not like a promotion or an endorsement for GameStop, because like I said, they've had their ups and downs, and gamers like me have a love-hate relationship with them. But going out and pre-ordering something in person and bypassing all the bots and the scalpers and the vitriol and the disappointment and the sadness, and just being able to go to a store and pre-order the thing in person and having it secure and knowing I'm going to get it and not having to worry about somebody chasing me out the door after I paid for it saying, oh no, wait, actually we messed up and we're all out of stock and you can't get one, was a really great experience. And it really got me thinking about how much I really enjoyed the whole pre-order experience when I was a kid. When I was in, grade school, junior high school, pre-ordering a game like meant something. And it was it was more than just making sure that the store that you were pre-ordering from ordered enough copies so that you would have one on release day. It was like a badge of honor. Like, I always harken back and think back to Ocarina of Time, the year it came out, that November, for Nintendo 64, and the excitement of being able to talk my parents into driving me out to, Gamestop. I think it was Gamestop where I pre-ordered it. It might have been, no, it was Toys R Us, because Toys R Us was still a thing then, and they still did pre-orders. And if you pre-ordered the game, you got the gold cartridge, and you had to have the gold cartridge. Otherwise, what was the point besides having one of the greatest games ever made? But it was that excitement of anticipation the night before, of getting up early and going to the store and waiting in line for the doors to open, and to go inside and to have your money in hand and to know that you're going to exchange your money for concrete proof and evidence that you actually had a copy of that game ready for you when release day came, and you can go and pick it up or do like a midnight release and whatnot. And it just got me thinking, how much are we trading for the quote unquote convenience of online pre-ordering for these high ticket, high profile items, when more people are being disappointed than not, and more people are coming away with a bad experience. You look at Target right now, and the reviews for the Switch 2 are in the gutter. They're through the floor, through the ceiling, into the core of the earth, and people are review bombing the product as a way of expressing their frustration over how badly Target continues to handle these sort of pre-orders. And I am somebody who was very fortunate to have grown up and come of age in the 80s, 90s, and 2000s. And a lot of times on this channel, if you're familiar, if this is your first time here, you'll learn that I have such a high level of nostalgia for those 3 decades. And I really think they were the best 3 decades to grow up and become a young adult, and to have lived through, and to have been able to experience things like the internet firsthand, and arcades firsthand, and the NES and the Super NES and the Sega Genesis and the PlayStation, and to really see gaming evolve from virtually nothing into what it is today, a massive multi-billion-dollar industry. And to think about how far we've come and how we've probably gone too far in some respects. I am so happy that so many people are excited to play games and own consoles all the time. But man, I don't know if the online pre-order thing is something that we as gamers need to accept as the norm, because it hurts us more than it helps us. And I don't know how GameStop was able to finagle this in-person pre-order for the Switch 2. I don't know if they went rogue and they took their allocated units, their supply from Nintendo, and decided, hey, we're going to do something different. We're going to do the online release the morning of and try and give people a second chance if they can't get it from the other ones. But we're also going to do an in-person release. But it was so old school and so punk rock of them to do it that way, and such a great way for certain people to be able to secure a pre-order of the Switch 2 in a very positive and exciting way. And man, I miss those days of pre-ordering things in person, and I still think it's the tried and true way of doing it. And I wish that more retailers would at least take some of their stock and allocate it towards in-person sales or pre-sales, pre-orders. And I realize that not everybody has the ability to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning on a weekday, on a work day, on a Thursday, to go, hang out in front of a mall or a strip mall or a brick and mortar freestanding location at 6 o'clock in the morning and wait for, 4 or 5 hours to, have a store open just so they can pay money to get something a month later. I get that. And I understand that there's a convenience level for a lot of people to be able to get the pre-orders online. But man, isn't there some sort of a compromise? Like, I don't know how and why GameStop was able to do this. And if anybody knows, please leave a comment down below, because I would love for this video to just be a conversation in general. But I'm curious how and why GameStop was able to do this, and how they decided to do this, and why so many stores had so many units available for in-person pre-order separate from their stock for online pre-orders. The GameStop I went to had 45 Mario Kart bundle Switches for pre-order in person, just for pre-order in person, and 20 of the vanilla ones without the game included. That's 65 units. I can't even fathom how quickly 65 units sold on Target's e-commerce site, or how many, how fast that many went on Walmart's site, and how many of those, probably all of them, went to bots that were set to trigger and purchase as many as possible as soon as the pre-orders went live. But for me to have been able to go early and sit in front of a store, and talk to people and be excited with people and have a communal experience about how jazzed we were for the console and how we can't wait for it to come out. And immediately sitting down and having the knowledge, the secure knowledge and the total lack of anxiety and knowing that we were going to be able to pre-order one and get one on release day, June 5th or 6th, I recall, was just such a great experience. And it felt like being 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 years old again and going out and doing that exact same thing I did 20, sometimes 30 years ago. I'm that old, believe it or not. I know I look good for my age. But I don't know what we do as consumers to help steer this back in the right direction. I don't know if maybe other retailers will look at the success that GameStop had, and maybe there's a lot of really good, awesome success stories like mine, who for people who went out and did their pre-orders in person. But man, like, can we please have more of that? And can we please just have retailers do more that's convenient and easy and beneficial for the consumer versus just not giving a shit and just putting everything online and letting the bots and scalpers tear through it and leave nothing for the rest of us honest people who genuinely just want to play Mario Kart and all the other games that are going to come out at some point and have this console that we know we'll love. It's such an easy way to avoid such predatory practices in the realm of pre-orders, and pre-orders has become such a realm. Like the mess with the Switch 2 and the mess with the Switch when that came out, the mess with the PlayStation 4, the mess with the PlayStation 5. It's every large high-ticket item that comes out seems to have to go through this same online pre-order nonsense that just pisses people off and just leaves a sour taste in their mouth. And with a lot of people having to wait months or maybe even a year to try and locate one later to actually have one and enjoy it with their friends and whatnot. And that sucks too. Like, we used to be in a situation where going and pre-ordering something meant that was the number of things that the store knew to order from the manufacturer. And now the manufacturer just obviously just sends out a supply, and that's just how it goes. Like, you sell out as fast as you can, as easy as you can. But it was just a great experience. And it just made me incredibly nostalgic. And it just made me wonder why this is an experience that more people can't have on the regular, and why that shouldn't be the norm, and what we can do to maybe make that the norm again. It was so great. I would love to hear your experiences, good or bad, with the Switch pre-order. If you were able to get one, if you weren't able to get one, please feel free to use the comments to vent down below. I'll be down there to help support you and talk you through it. And I don't know, maybe we can come up with some ideas of how to get you one. But yeah, and I'm not here obviously to promote or endorse GameStop. They just really provided a wonderful experience, a nostalgic experience, and a beneficial experience that should be the norm, I think. And that's coming from a company that has had some really questionable business practices in the last several years. But yeah, and also I don't mean to come in here and brag and say, oh, I got the Switch 2 pre-order, blah, blah, blah. If it wasn't for those in-person pre-orders, if it wasn't for the fact that I was able to get up early and go to GameStop and get one of those pre-orders in person, I'd be in the same boat as millions of people across the world right now, where I got screwed over by the websites crashing and the e-commerce infrastructure for these major retailers being absolute garbage. So GameStop saved me a whole lot of trouble and stress. They saved my June and they really kind of came through and did something that was beneficial and beautiful and wonderful for the consumer for a change. And I wish that retailers, when it came to stuff that people are passionate about, like video games, would really be more conscientious about this type of thing and really take consideration to heart for how important these things are to people and how stressful and painful it is to not be able to get one, not even just necessarily at launch day, but just in general. Like, we know we're going to see situations where, like, we're going to get alerts on Twitter or Blue Sky or whatever saying that, Walmart's going to have incoming stock tomorrow, or like it's going to be midnight, and there's going to be people who are going to try that multiple times, and they're still going to get the broken websites and the false promises of the order that suddenly gets canceled again, and it just blows. And I just wish that everybody could have had the experience that I had, and I feel for people who didn't have that experience. And I don't understand, and it makes me kind of angry, honestly, in sort of a community aspect where I don't know why everybody couldn't have that experience, why everybody can't be sitting on a Switch 2 pre-order right now and be happy and excited. And sucks. But again, share your experiences with me down below, and I'm not going to edit this video. Sorry if you're new here. I typically do more like essay or like video essays on like movies and video games and TV shows and stuff, and it's scripted and there's zany side stories and whatnot. But this was just an experience that sat with me and is still sitting with me, and I keep thinking about, and I really wanted to just get all my feelings about it out there in the open as both a consumer and somebody who loves video games and is passionate about video games. And you know, if whether you got the pre-order or you're struggling with trying to find one, I just want this video to be some sort of a testament and a conversation starter, and maybe even like a support circle. Maybe we can help each other out, like I said. But yeah, I hope you'll check out other videos on this channel. If you enjoyed the channel, please leave a like and please leave a comment. If nothing else, even if you didn't like the video, leave a comment. Let's talk about your feelings. Let's talk about how things could be so much better. Let's think of a better world where we go back to like 1999, where we had to pre-order everything in person and there wasn't a bunch of like AI bots standing in line in front of us waiting to purchase everything before everybody else could get their hands on it. And it just sucks that something that so many people love has just become fodder for predators and opportunists. So that's all I really had to say. I hope that you'll come hang out again and check out more videos. And like I said, a lot of the videos are less off the cuff than this one, and they're properly edited. And I actually have my thoughts all in order, and I have storylines woven in between them that I think are a lot of fun. But yeah, thank you so much for just letting me talk about this experience. And like I said, I'd love to hear your experience too. So this is your Captain DT signing off. And as always, thanking all of our patrons and all the people who have supported the channel and continue to support it. I can't wait to see you guys in the next mission. Thank you.